Uh-oh. It's like, mean you are continue to be recorded. Continue.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you are watching from in the world. We welcome you to Africaonline TV this afternoon. I am your co-host, Ambassador Lisa Parks. This Sunday concludes the month on our youth programming. And as is our custom, the last Sunday of the month, we always discuss a medical topic. So today we have Dr. Pamela Huffman Devon as our guest. So I hope that this month has been educational, it has been informative, and it has been a blessing to you to see what our young people are doing, how they're starting business, to know that African Americans can be involved in aviation and that the field is wide open for us and our children, and to know that sign language is available to you no matter how old you are, how young you are, whether you are deaf, hard of hearing, or hearing. Sign language is a language that we all need to take up because that community is so underserved because no one knows how to speak the language. And Teddy Bear Tea Party. It was yesterday. We had a wonderful time. The little girls received their boxes since we were doing a virtual, and it was packed full of goodies and supplies, and we taught about money. This month was the Millionaire Princess, and we had a wonderful time. So I hope that we have brought you something different in the area of youth programming than what you normally think young people should be doing during the summer. So it is my pleasure to bring to us Dr. Pamela Huffman as our guest today. We're so excited to have her as a pediatrician on board with us. And now, to get the program started, I will turn it over to my co-host, Nia-san. Take it away, my brother.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Lisa, and to our guest, Dr. Pamela. You are welcome on board. Our chair is on mute. She is not able to talk to us at this time, but thank God she is strong. Now, let us see how we can get this started. July 25 is the 206th day of the year 2021. Yeah, 2021. On the Gregorian calendar. So we have just 159 days left before 2021 is out of the way. The countdown seems to be very, very fast. On this day in 1978, as we usually do, going back to history, on this day in 1978, the world's first test tube baby was born, named Louis Joy Brown. Was the first person, as I said, to have been conceived using the in vitro fertilization IVF technology. This pioneering action was the work of Drs. Patrick Steptoe and Robert Edwards, Dr. Robert Edwards. Okay, how good is your eyesight? Well, I know we're talking pediatrics more today than vision. We thought we should ask this question considering that it is the last Sunday in July and a moment for Africaonline to focus on something that has to do with health. So, given the importance of sight to all living things, we would want to know about your eyesight. But why are you talking that? Why are you on that? But is it necessary at this time? Yes. Can you put thread on a needle and fit that button that fell off your shirt or your blouse? If you can, then your eyesight is still good. So know this, July 25 is, in quotes, thread the needle day. Thread the needle day. But do not blame yourself if you do not have that 20/20 vision that ophthalmologists tell you about when you go visiting them to check your eyesight. Let your worry not be your sight alone. Worry rather about the health of your children. So, as you heard Ambassador Lisa say, children's health is our topic this last Sunday in the month of July. So, what is child health? Experts tell us that child health is a state of physical, mental, intellectual, social, and emotional well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Healthy children live in families, they live in environments and communities that provide them with the opportunity to reach their fullest development potential. That is a quote. We are all aware that physical, mental, intellectual, social, and emotional well-being cannot be achieved by the children alone. As parents and as members of the community, we have to support the children and not wait until they are taken ill before we begin to do something. That is why on this 25th day of July, we thought that we should conclude a month-long exercise devoted to young people with this part of the discussion, children's health. Africaonline Media Corporation invites you, therefore, to join its discussion to raise awareness about the health, the welfare, and the well-being of our children. What does the science tell us about keeping our children healthy? Is it all just about pediatric health, or is there something more to it? Join us this afternoon then, this evening, depending on your part of the world at this moment, to help raise awareness about children's health. They, the children that is, are our priceless possession, the price of our durable, enduring acceptance of each other in our lives, the living testimony of a lasting relationship between a man and a woman, the price we must pay for bringing them into the world in the first place. We must do all we can to ensure that our children have good health, that good health for our children and our children's children, that is, and for generations to come, will continue to be our concern, not just for generations to come, but also from country to country around the globe. Thank you, Ambassador Lisa. Take the microphone at this point and let us welcome our guest and get the discussion started. Ambassador Lisa, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nia-san. Dr. Pamela Huffman Devon is a graduate of Fisk University. She received her MD degree from Meharry Medical College. Her pediatric residence training was done at Kosher Children's Hospital at the University of Louisville. She then did a one-year fellowship in adolescent medicine at the University of Alabama. She's board certified in pediatrics and is a fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Dr. Huffman Devon is a founder of PAMCOP and has been, which is the Pediatric and Adolescent Medical Centers, not just one, medical centers of Philadelphia, and has been practicing pediatric and adolescent medicine since 1986. Her special interests include working with the adolescents, obesity and asthma care. She enjoys gardening, arts and crafts, music and reading. She is married and has 2 children. And Dr. Pamela, we welcome you to Africaonline's program today. The floor is now yours. Well, before you start, as her and I talked, there were a myriad of topics that she wanted to kind of narrow down. And I kept telling her our program is unscripted. So just be prepared to get a myriad of questions from the audience in case they don't touch on the topics that you and I discussed. Dr. Pamela, now the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Elisa, for that nice introduction. And the child health, what he described is an excellent definition of child health. And when we look at child health, we're talking about the physical, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and social development of the child. I founded PAMCOP, we call it PAMCOP, the Pediatric and Adolescent Medicine Centers of Philadelphia. And we consist of 3 locations, 2 in Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, Germantown, and also in Wilmington, Delaware. And we're Black owned. And we have African-American physicians, male as well as female. And we try to provide quality care to our communities. And we serve communities everywhere, but those communities are our focus. I know, Lisa, you had some specific questions to start off with, and that you were curious about. And it had to do with COVID. So if you can tell me to start off, I can answer those questions.
Okay, well, like I said, we wanted to deal with, our children have been locked away, our children have been quarantined away for the past 16 to 18 months. And now that the cities are now beginning to open, we know that they're going to be going back to school in a few weeks, a month or so. Some of the concerns that are on the hearts and minds of the parents and the children is the COVID issue. We now know that there's another variant coming, the Delta variant. Want to be, talk about children's health and nutrition and their mental state of being, their mental wellness. So that was one of the areas that I was mainly concerned about with our children, as well as nutrition. I'm sure that Prophetess Ruth down there is going to have some questions about nutrition. So I want to talk about how can we help our children maintain their mental wellness in the age of COVID or post-COVID era, or if we're even in a post-COVID era.
Yes, we're not in a post-COVID era yet, but hopefully we'll get there upon the reopening. As far as our children's health, during the pandemic, I focused on well visits for the children, which everybody should be concerned about. If you don't, then they will lag behind on their immunizations. They will lag behind on their development, and you want to pick that up as soon as possible. If we had sick visits, we handled that by telehealth. But the immunizations, the American Academy of Pediatrics were concerned that during the pandemic, a lot of the kids did not get immunized. And so as we go into this Delta variant, we don't want to have increased cases of the Delta variant, as well as regressing back to having an outbreak of measles and chickenpox and all of those diseases that we've sort of resolved due to immunizations. So the kids are, they're coming in. And so when they come in, the doctors try to or should address any type of fears, anxiety, depression during COVID. Because we have had an increased cases of that. We've had increased suicide, not only with kids, but also with adults. And so we need to talk to your children, listen to them, hear them. Don't just say, shut up, I don't want to hear this, because I see you, Lisa, but they're going through a traumatic experience as well. So we call it collective trauma. Group of people go through the same experience, like 9/11 or World War II or those types of things. So the best way we can do, we have to address it. You don't have to focus on it for a long period of time. Answer their questions, be succinct with it, but answer their questions. You may pick up behaviors that the kid did not have before the pandemic. And that will let you know that something's going on with your child and you want to address that with the child's doctor. As far as eating, of course, we all picked up a little weight during the pandemic, right? Okay, because you're isolated, you're in the house, you're eating a lot. And so we have to address that with the children as well. They're eating a lot of junk and that type of thing. So if we can get them on a healthy eating habit, when they visit the office, go over that with them and go over that with the parents. We try not to leave the parents out. And we focus on the child and the parents. And I'm the type of doctor, I like to encourage the fathers to visit the pediatrician as well as the mother. Okay, because I have fathers who can tell me everything about that baby. So, and the kids do very well when we have father involvement. So as far as helping us get through this pandemic, we need to get the kids vaccinated. Okay, we've done the masking, social distancing, and washing our hands. But when you have an outbreak like this, which is globally, how can we best resolve this virus? So when they come And we try to make sure they have the COVID vaccine. If we do get resistance, we try to explain to the parents why they need it. But going back to school, we're going to need the kids to be vaccinated, and we're going to need the kids to wear masks, and we're going to need to continue the social distancing until this Delta variant shows a slowdown. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Lisa.
This seems to be the third variant we've had since COVID started March of 2020. So you're saying the children are going to need vaccines, I don't like to say social distance. I like to say physical distance.
Yeah.
We're actually physically distancing ourselves as opposed to socially distance. And they're going to, so I like what, you and I were talking about how your practice was holistic. And now said about the fathers coming to the checkups as well. I'm really encouraged by that. I wish she was around when my kids were small. I'm telling you.
Some days, Lisa, some days I call it Father's Day because bring the kids in. And I said, oh, it's Father's Day today. But if you allow, I tell the fathers, the mothers don't know it all. We all had to learn, right? Otherwise, 2 a.m. calls if the mothers knew everything, right?
That's right.
It's just a matter of learning. And, once they learn, they're fine.
Nisam, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm curious about one thing. Thank you, Dr. Pamela. My concern is the lack of vaccines for the little children from 0 to 12. Because I know from 12 upwards, they started vaccinating in some places, but why let this fragile group, human beings, be left without a vaccine that can work for them and keep them safe, prevented from this unseen enemy that we're fighting?
You mean the ones that are under 12?
Yes.
Yes. Well, everybody's talking about the research is going too fast, but you have to make sure the research is adequate, because that's when people have the fears, oh, it's going too fast. So they have studies going, testing even the 5 to the 11-year-olds. And then after that, it'll be the ones under 5-year-olds. But it just takes time. So they have not approved for the vaccines to be given to those under 12. So that's why they don't, we can't vaccinate them.
So shouldn't schools wait till these children are vaccinated before they open their doors for them? Because, think of a kindergarten kid being asked to wear a mask from 8 a.m. to 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Many of these children, I don't know how prepared they are to do that.
Well, you know what? When they come into my office, they're required to wear a mask. And we're required to wear a mask. But these kids do very well with the mask. Actually, they will put it on themselves, and they're more compliant than the parents. So I've had parents that I've interviewed in the last month. In Delaware, I had a parent last week. The young man is 9 years old. They've already opened the schools. They opened the school during the pandemic, this particular school. And they had, Lisa said, physical distancing, and they washed their hands. They did not have any breakouts. They did very well. If the teachers are immunized and the kids, this is how we improved it before with masks, right? Okay, mask and washing your hands. So if we continue to do that until these kids can get immunized, they will probably approve it more toward the fall and winter months. But I also had another young child I saw last week, which the mother said the same thing. They went to school in person during the pandemic, and they did very well. So if they have those guidelines in place and they follow them, they do fine. I know everybody's anxious, right? Yeah. But if they have the mask on them, even some daycares have done well. And I visited one daycare just to see what the kids were doing. The kids were sitting there with their mask on and doing their work. It was not a problem. So if you have a child, just like on the airplane, that is not compliant or won't keep the mask on, then I would suggest to talk to the school about doing virtual learning with that child. But we've had such a decrease. I mean, some of the kids, they were making A's and now they're making D's, because I say we do holistic. We check on the school, their mental state and that type of thing. Because the virtual learning was not for them. But on the other hand, I've had kids who made C's and they're honor students now. And I asked them, what was the difference? They said, well, I'm not distracted like I was at school, or I'm not being bullied, so I can focus on my work. So you're going to have a range of those, but if the child cannot keep a mask on, then I would suggest that they discuss with the school and take virtual instruction.
Ambassador Lisa?
Yes, I was happy to hear you say that some children went back to school and they kept the hand wash and they kept that regimen and there were breaks. I'm happy to hear that. So how can a parent who may not be in favor of vaccination, keep their child healthy outside of the washing of the hands and the physical distance? Should we be building our children's immune system? Should we be giving them herbs and eating the right kinds of foods to make sure that their body's pH balance is in order? It's perfect.
Well, we try to teach them to eat the right foods anyway. Your fruits,
Okay.
your vegetables, your beans, your whole grains and that type of thing. If they're not vaccinated, that child should definitely wear a mask.
Oh,
Okay?
I agree with mass, yes.
Okay, so, but as far as eating healthy, we try to get them away from a lot of the junk foods or the foods on the corner store, that type of thing. So we try to make sure they're eating their fruits, vegetables, beans, whole grains, that type of thing to keep them healthy. And if they're overweight, we talk to them about, because, and this is what happens. Some of the parents may say, well, I don't believe in vaccination, but then the kid is overweight. And I'm saying, well, why are they eating these foods? These foods are not healthy for them. So if they're putting that in their body, did you do research on those foods? Okay. If you say you're doing research on the vaccines, the foods are causing us to be unhealthy as well. Now, I've been practicing a long time, and as a medical student and resident, I was in the hospital all the time because we had so many infections in these kids. I mean, I treated a kid on with an iron lung, okay? So measles, chicken pox that you see in other countries, developing countries, they would love to get vaccines from us. The vaccines are expensive, but the diseases I saw in the 80s, I don't see them anymore. This is why I practice preventive health now. So when we had epiglottitis, septic arthritis, different types of meningitis, different types of pneumonias that these kids were in the hospital with, I don't have to go to the hospital anymore to see that. Because next to clean water, vaccinations have been almost revolutionary in children's health. I mean, I hardly see ear infections now. And that's because of some of the vaccines that we get. So when people don't see the damage that these infections can do to children, they assume, well, I've never seen it, so it doesn't exist. Yeah, but I've seen it. And I've seen many kids die from it when I was a medical student and resident, because we didn't have vaccines for them. So now, I mean, even during the pandemic, I hardly, because of the masking and the washing of the hands and the physical distancing, I hardly had any flu episodes. But in the last 5 to 6 years, I've hardly had any flu episodes anyway because of the vaccine. Now, if you got me 10 years ago, you couldn't get in my waiting room, and I would not schedule physicals because everybody had the flu. And now that we give the flu vaccine, I can count on my hand out of all my offices how many kids had the flu, and they were the ones who did not get vaccinated. So vaccines play a prominent part in pediatric care. So now my emphasis is on preventive care, because I don't have to go and, rescue this kid from a bad infection, meningitis, or that type of thing. So now we can practice preventive care, behavioral health, asthma is probably our chronic illness that hits us the most. But during the pandemic, I hardly had any episodes of kids flaring up with asthma. So that just goes back to show us the science of where are these infections coming from, right? We're transmitting the infections when we mingle with other people. But we also know during the pandemic, we don't need to be isolated. So if we can get kids vaccinated, then we can get everybody back together, see grandma, grandpa, aunt, sister, that type of thing. So that's the goal, to get people back to as near normal as possible and start doing the things they did before the pandemic.
Thank you.
Now, thank you, too. You hit the nail on the head. And as I often say, COVID has become top center everywhere, the main concern. But
Right.
Are we neglecting other diseases, even though you say you don't see them very, very much? Are we neglecting other child diseases that impede the growth and development of our children?
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you have a child who's delayed and they may be autistic, if that child is not brought into your office, you can't examine that child or pick that diagnosis up. Same as with adults. People have forfeited colonoscopies, mammograms. So we're seeing an increase of those cancer rates. But in the children, yes, if we don't get them back in school, they're already behind. If we don't get them back in school as soon as possible, it's going to be detrimental. And, Black and brown people, we can't take any more
Any more hits?
Yeah, exactly. So we need as much help as we can. And this is the leveling field. If we get them vaccinated, they can get back in school, and we can try to readjust their learning so that they can be on track.
Good.
Yeah.
Dr. Ambassador Lisa, we have two people on the screen. You want to
Yes.
call on them and to let them have a share of the conversation?
Yes, I was about to do that. Prophetess Ruth, would you like to have a question? Before I go any further, I would like to say that when I was looking for a pediatrician, I reached out to my former primary care doctor, and he told me about Dr. Pam, and I wrote her a letter because my clinic was closed. And when I had not heard from her after a couple of weeks, I reached out to my sister, Prophetess Ruth, and she recommended a Dr. Pam Huffman. And come to find out, they were one and the same person. So
yes, that's good.
Prophetess Ruth, would you like to have a question or a comment?
Hi, Dr. Pam. Many years ago, you may not remember Jenny and Lauren Patterson.
I do.
I do. Oh, you did?
They were the ones that came in the office with their diamond earrings for me to pierce their ears. That their rich dad bought them.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, now they're both college graduates, so.
Yeah, no, one works for Google. Oh, sorry, I'm on Zoom. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're doing very well.
That's great.
But years of taking care of children, oftentimes, and I don't know if you ever ran into this, the parent will tell you that this is the only thing their 3-year-old will eat. Mm-hmm. And you're going, who buys the food? Is it
right?
It's like, and when I had my daycare, I just made sure I gave the children the best food possible, the best fruits and veggies and things like that. And then when they went home, I had kids that would show up and their mother would I fed breakfast, but their mother would say, well, they wanted ice cream before we left the house today, and I just didn't.
Right, exactly.
And I think that sometimes, and even I had young moms as well, and sometimes they just are not aware of what that child should be eating. And I would
Right.
say things like, if you gave them a banana and a bottle of water, it is better than potato chips and a hug.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we do also in the well child visit. We go over nutrition. And I ask them, are they eating like 2 fruits a day? Half their plate vegetables? Or, oh, they only like this. They like broccoli. I said, that's great. That's a great vegetable, Or,
Yeah.
but the chips, no, we have to go. I tell them 10 chips, 100 calories. Let's switch over. Maybe we can substitute with popcorn. So we go over that every time they come in for a well visit.
That's,
And I think that's an excellent thing that you do. And that's why I tell the parents, if you just cut up some fruit and put it out on the table, they will eat it, but if they have a choice between chips next to that fruit, they're going to choose the chips. So just don't buy it, I tell them, right? I tell them if I have a little cookout and I buy chips for some people, but by the third day, I'm looking at those chips like, oh, maybe they need to be open. But if you don't buy them, you're not tempted. And I tell them for the children, and and some of the parents will say, well, she knows not to eat them. I said, but you should know not to buy them. You've got to help her. She's a child or he's a child, that type of thing, because we are having an epidemic of obesity.
yeah.
And we've had it for a while. And that's one of my little projects that I'm working on with the nutrition now, to start a nutrition program with the kids that are overweight. But we're going to bring the parents into it as well and show them how to shop in the grocery store, the periphery, your produce, the middle aisles, your processed food. And then we'll also show them how to cook healthy foods. Hopefully that will help them.
Yeah.
But the kids now are having what I call old age diseases. They're getting high blood pressure, diabetes, and that type of thing, And so this is why I was telling Lisa, I'm practicing more preventive care now. If we can teach these kids how to eat healthy early on, then as an adult, it won't be so hard, because you've grown into that. Now, the parents who do feed the kids healthy foods, those kids will eat cauliflower with something I probably made, but they would do it naturally because they've been taught that, and they don't bring junk into the house.
Right.
And I agree with you. Yeah, and water instead of juice.
Yes.
The body makes its own juice. Eat some fruit, drink your water, and your body makes its own fruit. They giggle at me, but I'm saying it's natural. Things that are from, the ground, from the trees. Try to eat that.
Because you're in Germantown and in this city, a lot of times they also talk about food deserts.
Right.
But aren't there ways to teach us how to navigate even in a food desert? My grandfather, for example, he lived in West Philly and had a little teeny yard, but in that little teeny yard, he grew cucumbers, he grew tomatoes, he had his own little garden. I think
absolutely
we need to teach our children that.
And that's what we plan to teach them. I was telling Lisa that I toured a garden yesterday because I wanted my patients to tour them, to see where the greens come from, or the black-eyed peas come from, or the okra, that type of thing. And they can appreciate it. But they also have lessons where they teach them how to garden. I mean, a parent can show them, you take a little plant. I have one of those little arrow gardens where you put little herbs in. And you start in about 26, 30 days, those things, basil and, chives and all that's growing like crazy. But a parent can start there and show them how to garden. And like you said, my father-in-law, bless him, he would come to my house and he'd build me a garden, and I take it from there. I'm from the South, so I like gardening and all that type of. So But you can build a garden, like you say, a small garden. You can put it in the windowsill
Yes.
and things will grow.
And I
So
believe
we're going to try to teach parents how to do that.
I like that.
And also they have gardens, a few gardens all over the place. And so we're going to tour those. So you may have a food desert, but you can go to the farmer's market and buy $25 worth of produce that would take you through the whole week.
Mhm.
Right? And so we would teach them, you know, places you can go if you don't have a grocery store right there in your immediate community.
I see Nancy Bennett on the screen. Ambassador Lisa, you want to introduce her to us, or you want to call on her to introduce herself and get involved in the conversation?
She likes to hide. Nancy? Nancy, are you there?
Hello, yes, I am. Hi.
Would you turn your
Hello.
camera on so we can see how beautiful you are? And would you like to have a question? And do you have a question or a comment?
Or a concern about children's health?
Definitely a whole lot about that, just with all the nieces and nephews we have and the stuff that they eat and the stuff that their parents and grandparents give them.
Are you one of those grandparents, Nancy?
Not yet, no grandkids. I have children, they're adults, but no grandkids yet.
Okay.
Okay.
But no, no, I just don't understand, how do you talk to people that, you know, when you say something to them, like one of my sister's grandkids, they come down 3 in the morning, 11:30 at night, and they will make a meal. And I was like, they can't do that at that hour. They already ate. Well, he's hungry.
Is that in your house?
Not in my house. Nope, it's not in my house.
Because you can set rules in your house.
No, it's definitely not in my house. No, no, no. This is one of my sister's grandchildren. But they eat all kind, anything, all hours of the night, morning, whatever.
Are they
Whatever they
overweight?
want, they get. Yes.
Are they? Yes. Because
Yes.
this is what's happening. You need to get, you know, to the bottom of it. Some of it is emotional eating, but mom and dad needs to set rules.
Thank you.
About, you know, no eating after bedtime. You know,
Yes, after bedtime. You know, when I was raising my boys, I used to, my mother taught me to serve my children. I would serve them half their meal because I knew they were going to ask for left, you know, for seconds. So I would serve a bit so that they could have a second. And she taught me to serve them exactly what they needed, to eat it a little slower, and they would feel. But if I gave them seconds time, even though I was cutting that meal in half, I was teaching them to be greedy. So no, I learned to give what they wanted on their plate, and this would be it for the night. So this is the kind of thing that we need. And she also taught me that what was mine, and by what was theirs was theirs. My children, my youngest is 34 and my oldest is 45, and they still will not touch what is mine. They're like, nope, mom, you bought that. It was yours. We cannot have it. So,
well, listen, another tip that I tell parents is when you cook enough for one serving. There are no seconds.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yes.
Take that, Nancy. So,
but people don't do that. They let them have anything they want, anytime they want.
Exactly. But I just tell them who's cooking the meal. Cook it for one serving for everybody. And if they're hungry, drink a glass of water, eat a piece of fruit.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
But if there are seconds and the food is good, they're going to try and get it. But if there are no seconds, you don't have to worry about that part.
Wow. I like that. Yes.
But I think they're feeding them out of love. They think they're giving them anything they want out of love, but they're killing them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not love.
Well, sometimes
they think it is.
It's out of love. Sometimes it's out of guilt. And that's their way of soothing rather than sitting down and talking to them and saying, you're mine, you know, particularly teenagers, let's talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, But
was
you know,
very
like
good.
like you said, they were overweight. That she needs to take them to pediatricians so they can talk about the weight. Now, like you said, sometimes the parents are offensive. Well, what do I do with the other kids? And I'm like, everybody
Right.
should be eating healthy. You know, so if they see you eat a certain way, they will mimic it. Okay, they're not going to starve and not eat anything for a week.
Right.
Okay, so they can pout or whatever, but this is what we're going to do: healthy eating. Because we are, you know, I can do all the prevention I want, but unless I have help from the parents, I can't do it.
Yes. Yes.
And these kids go on to have diabetes and high blood pressure, and you're right, they're going to die sooner than, you know,
Later.
right.
So
Yes, Dr. Huffman. Yeah, Dr.
Yes.
Huffman, let me put this to you as a pediatrician. Children, many children I've seen, I work in the school system, many children throw away their vegetables, they throw away their fruits, and they say, oh no, those are not good for me, this, that. What will you do to really convince children to accept the fact that fruits and vegetables are a better deal than those chips and whatnot?
Yeah, I try to explain it to them in the office. If I have that kid and I can talk to them, you'd be surprised how welcome they are to the information. Okay. Now, you know, Michelle Obama was trying to change the food in the schools.
mhm.
If the schools will serve healthy foods, then, and also kind of make it a little delicious, right? Because, you know, cauliflower, I don't like cauliflower, but if it's roasted, I like it, right? So we have to find what's going to make their taste buds spark. But you can find different dishes that have fruits and vegetables in it that they will like. But if they're used to going to the corner store and you know, going to the corner store or going to a fast food place and mommy gives them chicken nuggets or whatever, that's what they're going to eat. I may have a 9-month-old and mom says, I'm giving her French fries. I'm like, why? No, let's not give the baby French fries, you know. So sometimes the parents are not trained in good eating.
Yes.
Okay. And like in the 1950s, African Americans, we were pretty healthy, but now that we've added McDonald's and all of that stuff, now we've become unhealthy. So we have to get back to the roots. If they put it out and they see other kids eating it, then they're more inclined to eat it.
I say,
One thing, oh, okay, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, when I was growing up, one thing my mother taught us was not to give in to peer pressure, but to pressure our peers. So I grow up following what everybody else was doing, and I didn't care if I was the only one doing what was right.
That was right.
I knew I needed to do, and I did not want my mother to find out that I wasn't doing what was right. And so I therefore raised my boys the same way, especially during middle school. I was subject to come up to school at any time of the day with my stick up my sleeve, just walking through the hallways. I would take my lunch break and go through the hallways and see what was going on to make sure that they and their friends were doing right. So my question is, the shift that we see in the behaviors of our children, is it primarily because the parents now are much younger and they're not so open to, like you said, some things we say to them are offensive. So what are some of the buzzwords that we should be using that is not offensive? I think that was a two-part question.
That was what?
I think that was a two-part question.
Yeah. So
The parents being younger, yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't attribute so much as the parent being young. I have young parents who are very good parents. And then I have older parents who are questionable. So it goes back to what were the parents' upbringing, right? So if they were raised by good parents, then pretty much they set the example. Yeah, they're you know, young people who are not very good. They need parenting lessons. And when we see that, we try to refer them to some of the organizations that give parenting lessons. You know,
Okay.
if they're stressful, let's find out what's making you so stressful. What are the social determinants that's making you so stressful? Like Ruth said, you know, may not be enough food in the house. You know, people have lost their jobs. So we try to delve into that a little bit. And some of the insurance companies will help them with certain things. Certain organizations will help them. So we try to do that. So if they're stressed, we also try to tell them, take care of yourself first.
Self-care, yes.
When you're on the airplane, they tell you to put the mask on yourself first.
Yes.
So if you're stressed out, the kid's gonna be stressed out. So take care of yourself, take a break, but try to have more family time around dinner time. If families can start getting back together, the pandemic should have been an excellent time to do that.
Yes, I agree.
You're having dinner, open up the discussion, you know, find out what's bothering them and how, if it's something that you can't handle, have that child talk to their doctor to get help. Like they may have lost a parent or a grandparent during this COVID. So they're going through grief and they're irritable and so on and so on. And so if it seems like they are not acting with their natural behavior, then talk to their doctor about getting some help.
Need some?
Yes, I was going to take us to another dimension of this discussion. Genetically modified things, what is it called? Genetically modified
GMOs.
Are they not contributing to children not liking certain things? Because I think when the things are modified, the taste is no longer the same as the naturally grown foods that we have. I have a garden of mine, and when I taste what I grow by myself, it's much different than what I buy from the store.
Exactly, and it tastes much better.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to do, teach them, you know, organic foods or, you know, that type of thing. And this is my whole reason for trying to let them see tour gardens. They don't know where some of these vegetables come from or some of the herbs come from. But if they see it and they taste it off the tree and it tastes how, and then we show them how to cook it, then they'll start liking it. They just have never been exposed to it.
Okay. Was there Lisa?
I was getting ready to go there with the GMOs myself, but I was coming from the school lunches. When we're talking about the children not wanting to eat the lunches in school, I was watching a show, and it was I was watching I want to say not Crossing Jordan. I think it was Bones. And that was a rerun of Bones. And the food, the children, it was a show around the food, and the company said that they serve or they sell the food that is not, they call it the second tier food to the schools. It's not something they would sell in the market for the adults, but they sell these inferior foods to our children. So our children do have to eat lunch in school. They should eat lunch in school. But if we're making a good breakfast and we're bringing them home to a good dinner, then that should kind of take care of that afternoon time when they're not getting such a good value for a nutritious food.
Or you can make their lunch or teach them to make their lunch.
I thought they weren't allowed to bring lunch anymore because of the peanut allergies and things like that. They would, well, I know that some schools are saying they're not allowing their children to bring their lunch.
Well, actually, they're trying to, well, you can speak to that. They're asking them to bring it so they won't have to go to the lunchroom and mingle and that type of thing.
Oh, okay.
The important thing is bring your lunch, but don't share it with anyone. I think that's in my school district, that's what we say. Bring your lunch, but don't share it with anybody.
Right.
So I think Nancy's hand was up momentarily, then she took it away. I don't know if she still is itching to say something.
Who's that?
Nancy, her hand was up a while ago.
Oh, no, I think she was agreeing. I think she was
Oh, okay.
agreeing with
Okay,
something
okay.
Dr. Pam said.
I thought it was just a raised hand. Okay.
No.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'm the only man in the house, so I don't read
Yes.
some gestures. Women read
You're-
gestures better than men.
But
You were
asked good
outnumbered this
questions. Like I said, I still support the man. You asked good questions, so.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
very much. Thank you very much.
Ruthie, did you
Okay.
have a question or a comment? Ruth?
Myself?
No, Ruthie. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
Prophetess Ruth.
Yeah, sure. She should ask more questions.
Ruthie is fine. Just, I guess it would be, what can we do differently to help get the word out and to families and to people how they can better serve their children and their community, so that we're not continuing down this vein like we talked earlier with childhood diabetes and childhood heart disease and 20-year-olds having strokes and things like that. Something has to change, and it's time for us to rise up and do something. They need to be better educated. I was reading an article today from the children's something, but
Children's
this
Health
lady-
Defense
yes,
Health.
Children's Health Defense, and this lady's on there trying to promote GMOs and how we need to go the way of GMO in our food. And it's like, we need to do something different. There has to be
Right.
another voice that raises up.
And we're inundated with social media. Some things are okay, but we're having a lot of negative responses on there as well. But I think if we use examples like you do with your daycare, show them healthy foods to eat. Like you say, you give them a fruit and a bottle of water, they do fine. If other daycares could imitate what you do, and then if the schools will try to also talk to whoever runs the school cafeteria
Yeah.
about cooking healthy foods. And I thought that had started to change with Michelle Obama, but we have to push for it, and parents have to push for it, because even if they don't want the vegetables, if they can eat a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
And there's so many different types of vegetables, they haven't even tasted the bulk of them. So they just think, ones that mommy cooked, well, they may not like mommy's cooking.
Because I've had children 8, 9 years old that didn't even know what fresh collard greens were. Like, what is that?
Absolutely.
They don't
Absolutely.
know. And maybe even if the school started a garden. Remember home economics? Was anybody?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I think that's excellent.
So we'll have to develop a curriculum ambassador.
Yes. I was
That's
thinking
a great
about my
idea.
home economic days when Reverend Pam, Dr. Pam and I spoke yesterday. And
She's gonna make me a reverend sooner or later.
I'm sorry, Reverend Pam is down there. She's being quiet, but I was thinking about my home economic days in my junior high school, where we learned to cook and we learned to sew and we learned to do those things that were, I don't want to say quite natural to women, because there were men in the class, because not all guaranteed to be married, so they need to know how to cook and serve and sew themselves. But I was thinking about us not having our children not having those experiences anymore, and thinking about how holistic your practices, and you went to visit this garden because you wanted to take the children and the garden. I was just overwhelmed and floored by your approach to childhood medicine, pediatric adolescent medicine.
Well,
I applaud you. Before I go any further, I just want you to know how I applaud you and what with your practice.
Yes.
Thank you.
Glad that I was able to get you. I know that you're a little busy and you've still got visitors, I believe, but I thank you for taking this time out. I want to wait to the end of the program to share this. We're almost at the top of the hour, so Pearson, I'm going to let you have the last question and comment. So
Yes. I wanted I wanted to appreciate Dr. Huffman's initiative and to say that if the dynamic could change, if the mindset could change, if the collective effort were to be put in, they say it takes a village to raise a child, but it will take collective effort to be able to change the dynamic, to change the conversation, to encourage school districts and the federal government to encourage school districts to serve good, I mean, what do you call it? Good lunches for schools, and not give schools secondhand things. If federal funds are being sent to a school, that school must pledge to give children better food, better meals, and so on. That is my take on this. I hope that we will collectively continue to raise awareness, to make it known out there that we need to change the conversation so that our children can eat better food, better and healthier food.
Absolutely. I mean, I can only do so much in the office, right? So I need the help of parents, okay? And we need the help of organizations to get this done. These are our kids. And I think Lisa was mentioned, you do etiquette classes and that type of thing. All of that helps kids, you know?
Right.
Cooking classes, you know? So if the parent doesn't want to cook, I told a 15-year-old yesterday, well, my mom doesn't, she says, my mom doesn't make that. I said, well, you're 15. You can learn how to cook, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it has to be integrated. Like Ruth said, starting from daycare, from our office, when they're newborns, you know, we try to go over nutrition when they're newborns, and then when they're toddlers, and on until they, you know, become adults. But if they're taught early on, they can tell you what's good for them and what's not.
And if we can encourage those garden visits you mentioned, make sure that kids visit where the food is grown rather than seeing it in their cafeterias and refusing to eat it. If they can visit gardens, they'll be able to have that awareness that, oh, what we eat is not from out of this world. It is right there behind your yard. You can grow your own, and so on and so forth. I believe we'll be encouraging the children to learn to eat what is available to them, healthier, and of course, tastier, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. I have to try to get them away from these juice boxes, because I tell them it's causing cavities and it's causing obesity and that type of thing. And so once I give them the thing, you know, the example of eating your fruit and drinking water, your body makes its own fruit juice. They think it's funny, but they do it. You know, they come back and I see a difference in, I had a mother Friday, the obese child had lost 16 pounds. And I said, oh, somebody listens to me. And the mother was proud that she and her husband did the same thing that I recommended for the child. And the mother has lost 20 pounds. So, you know, it can be contagious. We just have to start somewhere.
Start somewhere, yes.
And I just figure I can do my part in my office. Ruth can do hers. Lisa can do hers. You can do yours in the school. And collectively, we can make a difference.
Little drops make the ocean. So please, we can start at our individual levels and encourage the conversation to proceed from there. I mean, we are the parents, we are the world, and we can help change that world, not anybody else from out of space. It is us, the parents. Us,
we're going to have to do it. We can't wait on the government, and we have to.
That's right.
Yes.
You may have to start bringing your classes over to your house to see your garden.
Oh, yes.
If you don't have any big gardens down there where you are, you may have to start bringing them over to your house and show them your garden and how.
Well, you know what? There's a garden also. There are two gardens in West Philadelphia. And I spoke with the young lady yesterday who's a PhD at Harvard. And she started her own garden at 57th and Addison. So I'm trying to find a garden in Germantown area, but we also have a grocer, which is Black owned, that just opened about 4 months ago. So I would have them to tour the grocery store,
okay,
you know, and see what's healthy and what's not, and then we can go from there.
Is that the grocery outlet?
Yes,
I've been there. I like that.
And if the school systems, If the school
See?
systems could encourage visits to gardens rather than to museums all the time. I mean, why not go visit gardens, make plans so that those outdoor education classes don't just take place in the wild nature, but really go to concrete places where some of this food is grown, so that the kids learn to know that this is what is happening out there, and we can be involved, and we'll change the world and what we eat, and lose the weight and gain the better health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the plan.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Pam, for your input. Go away. We are at the top of the hour, and at the top of the hour, we share our anthem. Our anthem. Oh, give me a second. I told my mouse is not cooperating over here.
Don't go away, please. Just have a sip of water and listen to the anthem.
Okay, that's this anthem was written by our very own Reverend Pam. What did I just do?
You came back to us.
Yes, I didn't mean to do. Okay, there we go. This anthem was written by Reverend Pam. It belongs to Africaonline Media. We own all the rights to it. And she wrote this. I forgot how long ago she said she wrote this, but this is what we share.
There we go.
Africa. Oh no. Africans, Africans for Africa. 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 Africans have many bright ideas. If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us the wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people, with so many cultures, yet indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind Africaonline Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey, Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does. To identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, yes indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Let us solve all the problems plaguing our continent. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Africaonline Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. If we we believe, there will be education for everyone. If we believe, prosperity for Africans. If we believe, medical facilitation for Africans. If we believe, stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africaonline Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization, the motherland. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. We were enslaved not because we were weak, but because of our hospitality. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Jump on the Africaonline miracle jet, don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Together we shall succeed, together we will win. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. We are writing our own story, the truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies, Africans own Africa.
Okay.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ambassador,
No
go ahead.
more lies. Africa's own Africa. Next week, we are enjoying this week's topic, and I'm especially enjoying our speaker for today, her holistic approach to medicine and our African-American children. She's not just the one who just wants to shove a thermometer down their throat or just dismiss them. She is taking her absolute time and spending with not only the child, but the parents, especially the fathers. I'm excited about that. So next week, we're going to be talking with Lady Uzai. She will be our guest, and we're going to be talking about cybersecurity. Have you had your computer, your phone hacked, your Facebook hacked? Mm-hmm. We have so many areas that are exposed that we don't know about. So next week, we're going to be talking with an expert in cybersecurity. Tune in from 4 to 5:30 and get some information on how to make your cyber life secure. Also, you can visit Africaonline at www.africaonlinetv.org. Find our website and join us in our ongoing fundraising project, Operation Borehole 55. We are endeavoring to raise money to put a borehole in every country in Africa, at least in every village in Africa. There are so many medical facilities, Dr. Pam, in Africa that do not have running water, where women are giving birth on a table. They get up, the next woman is on that table. No one has wiped it down, no one has washed it, and they have to send people 5 miles just to get a bucket of water. And mostly those children, they are children that are going for water. So we are endeavoring to bring water to the villages in Africa where there is no water. So our fundraiser, you can find it on our website, Africaonline TV, any size donation. I said nairas, shilling, rands, whatever you have, we will take it. We will use it to help build water boreholes in Africa. So thank you all.
Yeah, I sponsored one several years ago. Dr. Johnson, I have a friend who goes to Africa.
I know Dr. Johnson, yes.
Right, okay. So
I haven't heard from him in a long time. Is he still around?
Yes, he's still around.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we're back to talking to Dr. Pam, and we're discussing children's health. Now, we've talked about vaccine, we've talked about nutrition, we have talked about food towers. I'm sorry, we haven't talked about food towers. I'm going to let Ruthie talk about the tower garden, because I'm sure she had. Did you go get it to bring us? Did you take your laptop to show us your food tower?
No, I did not.
Oh.
I was just sending you a private message, girl.
Oh, she said Tower Gardens for everyone. But I know that several people in my church have a Tower Garden. And I believe it grows like 5 or 6 different vegetables in this Tower Garden.
20.
Oh, you can grow 20 vegetables.
That's a picture of my Tower Garden from last year. I took my Tower Garden down because we're getting ready to move. So I could only show you an empty Tower Garden. That wouldn't be very effective. So you can grow your own in-home using 90% less water. It's self-sufficient. It waters itself. It has its own lights. And I tell people, I am a cactus killer. So if I can grow a
wow,
anybody can. I agree. There's kale, all different kinds of lettuces. There's mint, herbs, like I had romaine, spring mix, not Boston. I had like 5 lettuces. This is my green tower. Everything on there was green, and I grow my own right on my very front porch all year round.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so she is eating. I know several people I'm getting ready to go pick from my tower to make my salad. So you can have your vegetables right in the house with you.
Yeah, that's my lettuces. Aren't they pretty?
Oh, that's beautiful.
That looks like butter. Is that butter?
That's the name of it, butter
lettuce.
Yeah, butter lettuce. Yeah, yeah. That would be good for kids as well.
It is.
You know, they see that and then they see they can eat off of that.
And they can grow it. Children start.
And they can grow it. Yeah.
They can grow it themselves. There's a whole curriculum that goes with this as well. So
wow.
It's good for the school district as well. Yeah.
I think Ruthie, you're gonna have you and Pam, Dr. Pam, gonna have to get together. So she might need a Tower Garden in her office to help demonstrate to the parents, right?
Oh yeah, and in my home.
Okay.
So
I have a small one, but yes, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
So I want to change the subject just a teeny bit, but I wanted to deal. You said something earlier about collective trauma. I wanted to deal with some of the bullying that goes on with our young people, which causes stress, which causes them to stress eat. So how are you handling, or are the children coming in to talk to you about bullying, whether it's at home, whether it's in school, whether it's with their friends, or how are they dealing with the bullying issue?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're going to always have some type of bullying. And I talk to the kids and I may talk to them individually. Now that I may get some comments from the parents, and then the kids may not open up as readily about what's bothering them. So I may have the parent just sit outside for a minute, let me talk to the kid and see what's bothering them, because they go through withdrawal and all kinds of manifestations. And if there's a problem, I tell the parent that has to be addressed, you know, talk to the teacher about it or talk to the principal about it. And in the meantime, we can get some help for that child, behavior help, because some of these kids go online and they are being bullied online, and some of these kids commit suicide because they're being bullied online. So I'll try to get help through some type of behavior help for that child, if that's, you know, a problem.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Hello. Yeah, this is me. Am I coming through?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Dr. Huffman, apart from COVID and obesity and this other small disease, oh no, not small, these other diseases we talk about, what are other prominent infant or child diseases that we are not talking much more about than we did before?
Well, the biggest one is asthma. Okay. And that's probably the most prominent chronic illness in children now, because we've gotten rid of most of the infections, right? Measles, chickenpox, a lot of the ear infections and that type of thing. But if usually I try to monitor my asthmatics pretty closely. Like if they're chronic asthmatics and what we call persistent, I will see them about every 3 months and get them under control. Because what happens is when the seasons change, that's when they flare up. And so if you know your patient well, and they will be able to identify when they flare up, like it may be springtime, you know, when the spring pollen comes out, or back to school, September, October, when they go back to school and it gets cold, the asthma may flare up. So I've found that following them closely until they're stable helps them to do well. Of course, we have, you know, anxiety, depression, and I would try to refer them to behavioral health and that type of thing. But asthma is our biggest one. But to my surprise, I hardly had any flare-ups during the pandemic. And Children's Hospital also are showing those statistics. And I may tell my asthmatics to wear masks going into the fall and winter, because, you know, number one, the mask also gives them some type of warmth in their airways, so that protects them from the cold. Also, they are exposed to viruses when they come in contact with other kids, which triggers the asthma. And so I try to tell the parents, we'll try to get them in, follow them chronically, so they won't end up in the hospital or they won't end up in the ER. And since we've tried that, that has been much improvement in the incidence of asthma.
Ruthie, you had a question you were about to ask.
I was, but it was related to what you were talking about, the helping the children with their anxiety and stress and things like that. Are there certain signs that parents should be kind of on the lookout for? Because I've heard people say, I thought she was just a little, you know, down or something, and the next thing you know, their child is committed suicide. Are there some other signs that they could be looking for, or should they be more vigilant about them being, when they say, well, I just don't feel like talking about it, you know, I'm okay, mom, just, I'll be fine. Is there?
Right, if you find that child is agitated easily and they're irritable, and say they're in the room a lot, and that's a little different, they're withdrawn and that type of thing, well, that's a sign. And when I tell the parents, take the initiative, you know, they may not want to talk to you, but bring them to me. I will try to talk to the kid to uncover what's going on. I'm not a therapist, but I can certainly put them in the hands of a therapist to address those issues. Years ago, I think when I was a resident, one of my colleagues who's a psychiatrist said, you know, Dr. Huffman, with Black and brown people, we would rather say our children was in prison rather than our children was seeing a therapist. And so that stereotype we need to remove if we're going to get mental health for the children. You know, I tell them, if you have asthma, you take medication, and I'm not a real medication person. If you need it, I will give it to you, but I'm not one to dole out medication just for every little symptom. So what I tell them, I said, we as a people, sometimes we're shameful because our child is seeing a therapist or a counselor, when other people have the counselor in the limousine on their way to a talk show, right? So we have to get rid of that stigma, children, and let them know it's fine. If you have this problem, this is to give you techniques of dealing with this problem, okay? And then we go from there. Now, that's the other thing I'm about to incorporate into my practice, where I can have a therapist on site as well. So I'm working with the schools in Delaware. So those are the things that I'm finding the biggest thing with our kids: asthma, obesity, and mental health. Those are the three biggest, and those are the things I'm trying to address now.
You know, when I was a child, we had to go to family counseling because of father. So, but our mother made it so difficult. I don't know about anybody else, but we were told what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Right.
So we went to therapy as a family, but none of us talked. So I find that we can't be honest with our children who are struggling because in the back of our mind, we still have that what goes on in this house stays in this house. So we can't be honest and tell our children that we had issues. And but I think that if we can get out of that place, if we can step out of that box and say, yes, we had issues, we may not have been able to deal with it. We don't want to say, yeah, look at us, look how we turned out. Some of us turned out pretty well in spite of, but we've got to begin to start being very honest and open with our children. And if we stop hiding so much, I'm not even sure what our parents were hiding. You know, it was just what goes on in this house stays in this house. And you were afraid to talk to anybody. It's not your teacher, not what happened to, you know, your friends, especially not your doctor. And nowadays, I think, I'm not sure what's going on, how we can, but we do have, I agree, we do have to get rid of that stigma that counseling and therapists are a bad thing. It is
Right. And I've had patients to tell me, Dr. Huffman, I need to see a therapist.
Mhm.
You know, the kids are smart, so they know what's going on, and we just have to encourage them to seek counseling. You know, talk to them, don't ignore them. You know, because they're telling us what's going on and we just have to listen. But if it becomes difficult for you to handle, then talk to the patient's doctor to get help for that child.
Nancy,
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Nancy.
so Dr. Huffman, are you limited to just Pennsylvania and Delaware, or do you go to other parts of the country to try to maybe meet with and help African and African-American kids with their health issues?
He's trying to make 5 of me, right?
If it were possible,
that's why I have some help in my office. You know, I have 2 African-American male pediatricians. I'm a female, so we try to appeal to allowing, which I talked to Lisa about. There's an African-American male that's a doctor. You can be that. African-American female that's a doctor. You can be that. So when they come into the office, they see that, oh, that exists. I can be that. Now, I do have a lot of patients now who are going to be doctors. So we try to set up as a role model that they can see African-American doctors coming into the practice. Do I go all over the country? Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But to tell you, one reason I did go to Delaware, because I had a lot of patients coming from Delaware to my office in Philadelphia.
Mm.
And so to make it convenient for them, there was a pediatrician in Delaware who was retiring, and she begged me to, you know, take over her practice. So I made it easier for my patients in Delaware. I made it convenient for them to see me in their, you know, home city, state, rather than they're traveling over to see me. Same thing with Jersey, patients in Jersey, but they come to Philadelphia to see us.
Oh, okay.
You know, I even had one in New York, and I told her, I'm going to find you a pediatrician because you don't. I have one in Baltimore, and she would drive all the way to my office because of the ear infection. I said, I'm going to find you a pediatrician. So, yeah, so I'm just trying to work with what I have now and build on that. And then maybe, you know, at a later date, expand at least the concept.
Yes, I was
Yeah,
going to
go
say,
ahead, Ambassador Lisa.
I was going to say, you may have to start teaching other doctors how to have a holistic approach to their patients, and then they won't have to travel so far, and then you won't have to be trying to spread yourself out. Five different people in 5 different cities. Yes.
That's right.
Well, I mean, doctors rotate through the practice, so they see
Okay.
on things. And I mean, we have them on, one of them was on TV today, you know, and so I mentor doctors and I learned my method of doing things. So.
Good. Yes,
Ruth?
Dr. Lista, yes. What? Oh, I thought somebody was trying to say something, but
No.
it looks like it's me. Uh, yes. So that being said, COVID, obesity, mental health, and all the rest of it. How far can you stretch yourself apart from what you're already doing? Would you want to maybe establish something online and let people get into it so that they can get to you? What do you call it? Is it telemedicine or something?
Well, we do have telehealth. We have telehealth. So we
Okay.
have that. I was telling Lisa, I'm not as high tech for our, but I mean, we do have a website, PAMCOP.com. And so people can go and see what we do. But one of my employees is putting up the Facebook, since Lisa asked me about the Facebook and that type of thing.
Yes.
But to the younger people to do. And, but yeah, they can go to the website, PAMCOP.com, or, you know, they can call the number, the main number, 215-848-9000. And, you know, they can contact us that way.
We're happy to have Ambassador Lisa on the show, so she will put out all that information on Africaonlinetv.org so that our audience can reach out and maybe contact you with their problems if they need to. And if they have, which I think they will need to, and they will have to contact you when they have the need. So Ambassador Lisa.
Okay, we welcome that.
Yes.
Okay. So let's take a round of the table at this point. We will start with the most silent one. Nancy, is that Nancy? Can she unmute and tell us her last word after listening and participating in this show? If she can unmute. Yeah, there she is. Thank you. Your last word,
Hello.
please.
We hear you.
The whole conversation was very informative. It's a whole lot to think about. But I just don't know how to talk to people that I know that are doing the wrong thing. And I should not tell them that they're doing the wrong thing. Because they take it defensively, and that's not what I'm trying to do.
Well, you can get that, but you know, as my mother would say, just tell them the truth. And that's for them to take the information and do what they're going to do with it. But just tell them the truth.
Yes.
So I'm not offended by, even with my patients, you know, I mean, I've had a few parents, you know, say, well, I don't want to talk about her weight because my mother teased her about her weight. And I would say, well, I don't do that. We're just trying to get her to healthy. So some are open and some are not, but you just have to be patient and do the best you can. And the main thing is just to tell the truth. I mean, this last year or so, we've had so many lies, you know, and truth, and then people can take it from there.
Okay. Thank you so very much. And we're going to turn to Dr. Ruth. Please, your last word on the discussion so far.
I thoroughly enjoyed the discussion, and I thoroughly appreciate what Dr. Pam is doing. I agree wholeheartedly. All we can do is share the truth and then allow them to make I call it informed decision making.
Right.
You now have the right to make that informed decision, and I've completed my assignment. I've given you the truth, and now you're deciding for yourself and for your child whether or not what you want to do to have the better outcome. So, but thank you, Prophetess, Ambassador, my sister, for inviting me here. I appreciate it. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, and Dr. Pam D and Sam said hi.
Oh, tell them I said hi, and tell the girls to come by the office and let me see them.
Okay.
I know they're adults now, but I haven't forgotten about them.
Okay, I will tell them to do that.
Yes. And
And,
I enjoyed the conversation as well. And I'm just glad, I like the work that you all are doing. And I think, Lisa and, all of you just spread the message on what you're doing to help, because I think what you're doing is very good as well. And we need more of it.
Thank you. We will
thank you so very much. And be
We're going to give
ready.
you the last word.
Be ready. Yeah, that's it. She gave it. So I just wanted to say we appreciate you accepting our invitation. Always be ready at any time. Ambassador Lisa reaches out. Please don't hesitate to come help us get the word out to our people out there. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I want to thank all of our guests for joining us today. Dr. Pam, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. We've had many conversations. We missed each other on the phone a couple times. Really hope that you didn't get frustrated or that you were too busy for us to finally connect. But I thank you. I have enjoyed this conversation. Thank you, Ruth and Nancy, for joining us. Reverend Pam, we are praying for you. We miss seeing your face. We miss hearing your voice. I miss you doing all the extra things that you do as the host, the sharing and all that. But we have had an amazing show. We have had an amazing month. I just want to say that all of my little kidpreneurs from last week already have texted me and called me and says, when are we coming back on the show? We had so much fun. I wasn't never what I was going to be. So they were very excited. So we want to look to have them sometime around the end of the year, maybe January, to have all our kidpreneurs back on. And maybe I can get Dr. Pam to join us during that show and be one of the mentors to our young entrepreneurs. We just had an amazing month. And I want to thank all of you out there who watched, who listened live, who saw the show on Monday or Wednesday or watched on Facebook. We just are here for you. Africaonline TV.org. If you have any questions, reach us at info@africaonlinetv.org. If you didn't get the information for our guest, Dr. Pam, reach us on info@Africaonline, and we will be sure to get that information to you. Thank you again so much. Niasam, it's all in your
Thank you all so very much. Thank you. We appreciate everything we're doing together. Please go and have a great week. Have a rest this evening and be ready on Monday to start another week. And going forward, in another 6 days, we will be seeing a new month. Thank you all very much and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye, Ruth.
Bye-bye. Love you guys.
Okay, bye.
I'm texting them right now.
Okay.
Right. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
So Ambassador, are you going to close the WhatsApp?
I don't have the, I thought Reverend Pam was going to do that because I looked, I only have the ability to leave.
Yeah, that's right. I only have the ability to leave.
Let me see. I think I can stop the recording. Let me see. Stop recording. Yes.
Oh, okay.